hour. It's no significance.
Oh, and
so
by the way,
not only do I think the models are wrong,
yeah.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, Tim, we talked about this yesterday. The wind starts picking up as that rain moves out.
Right.
So I think there's this weird thing that could happen where we might have a delayed power outage surge, like when the winds pick up on Monday morning, Sunday night with the front, all the ice in the trees, which maybe people say, oh, we didn't lose power, and all of a sudden the wind picks up and all that ice-loaded tree and power lines start flowing around, and then we have a bunch of outages on Monday morning.
Well, and what do you do when there's a bad storm? I know what I do is once it's over, I go out and look at it.
Yeah.
And I want to look around, because I'm a weather geek and I want to observe it.
Yeah.
But if you're walking around your yard, you want to check if things are okay. You've really got to be careful on Monday, particularly once you get to the afternoon, because I would bet that's when it starts to be the windiest time of the day. But some of those trees could still fall, and that could continue to happen. Sometimes fatalities in storms, tree falls. We see this with severe weather outbreaks. We see it in winter storms as well. You got to be careful all the way through Monday, probably out of the woods until Tuesday with that threat. Yeah,
that's a great point. So, Tim, we're coming up at the bottom of the hour real quickly. And just real quickly, for the folks that are in the northern Piedmont, the Triad, talk a little bit about the timing that you're thinking about for this for you guys. And then I think we'll break down the timing here just so people have a good understanding of when it starts, when's the worst, and when do we think it's going to move out?
Sure, those are all great questions, and one of the biggest questions we continue to get is what time do I need to be home tomorrow? So this is not the most important day of the storm tomorrow, but a lot of people still want to know what's your cutoff point. And so for tomorrow afternoon, I would say be home, like we were saying before, by 4, 5, 6 o'clock. That's kind of your get home, stay home time frame, because up here we actually really could get some snow, and that's pretty, but it'll stick right away and it'll continue to be an issue. This thing just goes all the way through the day on Sunday, right? And so the main messaging here, and we can get into the fancy maps, but at the end of the day, we're going to have major impacts from sleet and from ice, both of those up here. You're going to need to be prepared to be stuck for a couple of days, and we're expecting power outages. We're going to be surprised if there aren't widespread power outages. It's that type of deal. And so in our area, at least 1/4 inch of ice is really likely, and power outages will probably last for several days. And on top of that, you've got the roadways to worry about, because up here, we will probably have a few inches of sleet, and then on top of that, you're crusting it up with all the ice. So those roads are just going to be a glacier for several days. And we'll be talking about the lingering effects and when you can try and warm up. I don't know, guys. I don't know when we're going to be above 40 degrees again.
Yeah, it could be tough next week. Our timing is almost very similar. I basically have said 6 o'clock all day. I think that's the time I want people to be where they're going to be for the weekend and stay there. Our weekend forecast shows pretty dry tomorrow with mid-30s, and you see the first snow-rain mix, which is a wintry mix, around 7 o'clock. So 6, 7 o'clock, and then Sunday is crazy. I mean, even our forecast here shows just solid freezing rain or sleet all day. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., it never gets above 29 degrees. It's like 23 to 20. I mean, that's going to be a mess. And Tim, this was another interesting question I had today, and I've seen, we've got a lot of very weather-savvy followers, which I love, and a lot of them had really good questions like, Brad, I see a dry slide, or it looks like on your Futurecast there's breaks in the freezing rain. And I had to slow people's roll a little bit and say, hey, those breaks in the rain, there's still freezing drizzle and mist, because remember, we're getting upglide over the wedge the entire time. So there's likely going to be mist drizzle or some type of light, something falling. And in that case, Tim, with the dry slot and that mist, that's actually could be worse, because it's going to cause glaze on everything. The light freezing mist and drizzle is worse than freezing rain.
Yeah. It's counterintuitive. Yeah. With precipitation, you think heavier is heavier, and that's all that it is. But with ice, you think about how are you going to get that stuff to stick, and
Yeah.
so if it's really pouring outside, a lot of that's just running off. Now it'll freeze on the blades of grass and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
with ice, we really only care about it sticking to the trees. We really only care about it sticking to the power lines. That's your
Yeah.
impact. And if it is a little bit lighter, it can be a bit more efficient. I'll also say about the dry slot, these are computer models.
Yeah.
Brad and I look at this computer model every day. It's all right. It's not the
Yeah.
best one there is in the world. It has its misgivings,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, last week it was pretty dry with the last storm that we got. That didn't end up verifying super well. So I don't know if I buy too much on the dry slot anyway. It's possible, probably more so for areas south and east of us.
Yeah, and don't forget, just like bridges and overpasses freeze first, elevated stuff
Yeah.
like tree branches and power lines, they're surrounded by this cold air. So that stuff is going to be freezing on contact much more up there than even on the road surface. So we went a little long. Brittany's here. Tim's here. We're going to be here all weekend, guys. I think Brittany's going to sleep here, aren't you? No.
Maybe at some point, but not tonight.
I don't know.
I need to be snuggling with Roger tonight for my mental health.
Yeah, no, we'll be here all weekend, and so we'll get you covered here. And folks, the
Bring
thing
Roger.
is, yeah, Roger's great. I mean,
He might have to come. I already told our boss, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
for
Storm
another day.
dog.
He might be on. He might be on our stream. Yeah. Hey, folks out there,
Good.
it's time to prepare. That's what we want you to do. All of us would tell you the same thing. We don't want you to be scared. Be prepared. And more importantly, we're going to get through this, just like we do all big events. It is not the end of the world. It really isn't. It's not something to be super scared about. It's more important to be prepared. And once the storm hits, we will get through this together. So don't worry. We'll get through it. Just be ready. Don't be surprised. And if you're prepared, you'll be in great shape. And we'll have you covered here on WCNC and WFMY. That's it for now. We're going to have more coverage on the storm because we got preps. Nick's going to be coming up here in a minute talking about everything else going out there. There's a lot of news stuff going on with this as well from across the state and from the city of Charlotte. So we'll be right back in about 2 minutes.
Welcome in. Thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. You heard from Brad. You heard from Brittany. You heard from Tim Buckley there in Greensboro. You need to take this storm serious. A lot of ice moving our way, and it is barreling down here on the Carolinas. So you still got time to get prepared. You still got time to get ready. So keep that in mind. If you're ready, like Brad said, look, you have nothing to worry about. just stay home, hunker down this weekend through early next week. But we want to go now to Raleigh because we heard from Governor Josh Stein, along with emergency management officials, about how the state is preparing and what you need to be mindful of. Let's take a listen in.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we share updates on the winter storm coming to North Carolina tomorrow. I'm joined by the Director of Emergency Management, Will Ray, Secretary of Transportation, Daniel Johnson, Secretary of Public Safety, Jeff Smythe, Major General Todd Hunt of the North Carolina National Guard, and the Commander of the State Highway Patrol, Colonel Freddie Johnson. Jackie Matevier and Murtado Bustillo are our Spanish language interpreters, and our American Sign Language interpreters are Stephen Holland and Karen Magoon. The latest weather forecasts lead us to expect impacts to the majority of the state starting tomorrow and lasting into next week. Between snow, sleet, ice, freezing rain, and bitterly cold temperatures, this storm is expected to cause major disruptions to your daily life, possibly for days. Our message to North Carolina is simple. This is a serious storm. We are taking it seriously, and so should you. On Wednesday, I declared a state of emergency across North Carolina to mobilize resources in advance of the storm. We've activated the State Emergency Response Team, a cross-agency group that includes the Department of Transportation, the Department of Public Safety, the North Carolina National Guard, the State Highway Patrol, and our state's utilities. The NCDOT has already put down 2.8 million gallons of brine to pre-treat the roads and is ready to salt the roads and plow them once the storm begins. The State Emergency Response Team has shipped pallets of meals and drinking water around the state in preparation. Some localities are starting to open warming centers, so check your local government emergency management's website to see what options are available near you. And utilities like Duke Energy have brought in more than 18,000 workers from around the country to help restore power where necessary. At this time, because of expected ice accumulation and cold temperatures, our greatest concerns remain unsafe travel and power outages that could last for days. So we recommend that you take the following actions to navigate this winter weather event. First, stay informed. Make sure you're following your local media, the National Weather Service, and your local emergency management agency for the latest updates and recommendations. Second, get disaster supplies ready now in case you lose power and can't leave home for a few days. You may need water, non-perishable food, medication, and other supplies for 3 to 5 days for each person and pet in your household. You may also need a flashlight and fresh batteries, a battery-operated radio, a way to keep your phone charged, and blankets and winter clothing. Visit readync.gov for more detailed information about how to prepare for a storm. Third, make a plan. Make a plan for if the power goes out, how you'll safely keep warm, what you'll eat, and who you will call in case you need help. Be ready to reach out to family or authorities for help if you're without power for an extended period of time. The effects of the storm could last for days. Fourth, stay off the roads starting tomorrow. For your own safety and that of others, please do not drive unless it is necessary. And that request will likely extend beyond the weekend. Next week is going to be cold. We expect the temperature to fall below freezing every night for the next 7 days. That means whatever ice or snow that turns to slush during the day will freeze again overnight. Black ice will remain a risk in many places into next week. So plan for the possibility that you'll be stuck at home for a few days. Fifth and finally, as you're getting ready yourself, don't forget to check on your loved ones, neighbors, and anyone you know who might be vulnerable, including the elderly. Over the past year, I've been inspired time and again by the many North Carolinians I've seen lending a helping hand to their neighbors in need. So please look out for your family and yourself and for your neighbors too. North Carolina, that's how we're going to get through this storm together. Thank you. I'll now turn it over to Director Ray and then Secretary Johnson. Director Ray.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everyone. Winter storm warnings and ice warnings are now in effect through midday Monday for the mountains and the Piedmont. A winter storm watch remains in effect farther east, and as accumulation types and amounts become clearer, the watch will transition to warnings or advisories. Significant wintry precipitation is forecast over the weekend, with major impacts lingering into early next week as dangerously cold temperatures are forecast. Ice accumulation of a quarter inch or more is likely across much of North Carolina Saturday through Monday morning. Areas across the southern mountains, higher elevations into the Blue Ridge Escarpment, and into much of central North Carolina are forecast to see the most impactful ice accumulations, and in some cases, reaching or exceeding 1 inch. As a reminder, ice accumulations of around a ½ inch of ice or more can cause an increase in downed trees or impact power lines and lead to an increase in power outages, as well as hazardous travel conditions. Based on this morning's forecast update, hazardous travel conditions are expected to begin by midday Saturday and will worsen through Sunday and may remain for several days due to those lingering low temperatures. We need all North Carolinians to remain focused on preparing for the potential impacts with a plan and supplies to support you and your family for the next several days. Unnecessary travel not only puts you at risk, but also the public safety personnel, the power crews, and the DOT workers who are working to respond to emergencies, to restore power, and to clear roadways. The State Emergency Response Team, including all our interagency partners, our private sector and nonprofit and volunteer agencies, has been activated here at the State Emergency Operations Center, as well as our regional coordination centers in Kinston, Burlington, and Hickory. We continue to support commodity distribution from our activated warehouses. As of this morning, the State Emergency Response Team has shipped approximately 65 pallets of meals ready to eat, or MREs, and drinking water to assist communities with shelter operations if needed. This is in addition to over 460 cots and blanket shipments to supplement local supply, as well as commodities that have been shipped into local communities over the past several months to assist in building local capacity. Additional commodities are shipping out from our warehouses today into tomorrow. 11 county states of emergency have been declared, and 2 county emergency operations center are activated, with many others monitoring plans to activate this weekend. Communities across the state are opening shelter locations and warming stations. For the most up-to-date information on the resources available in your community, please visit your local government and local emergency management agency's website and social media accounts. Elements of the North Carolina National Guard are active today and pre-positioning across the state to quickly assist the needs of our communities. 95 force packages will be assisting with clearing roadways from downed trees, helping disabled motorists, supplementing our first responders, and assisting with commodity distribution. These force packages include approximately 430 National Guardsmen and women and 170 vehicles, and they will be on station across the state later today. We remain in close coordination with our energy sector partners who are present here at the State EOC and will be closely monitoring power outage information and assisting any needs to quickly restore power in communities that do see outages. The North Carolina Forest Service has placed six task forces on standby to assist local first responders or state agencies with clearing roadways as soon as it's safe to do so. Each task force is comprised of saw crews, heavy equipment, and a mechanic. Additional chainsaw crews are activated, and all 100 counties are staffed with their forestry personnel. Communications personnel and equipment have been pre-deployed to assist with any degradation of 911 systems, radio systems, and phone networks. 44 caches of radios have been deployed to assist with local response efforts, and our partners at the North Carolina Highway Patrol have conducted checks of the systems that support the state's Viper radio system, used by our first responders statewide. As a reminder, 911 should only be used for emergencies. For general information, please call 211 or follow your local government and emergency management websites and social media accounts. We will continue to work with the entire State Emergency Response Team, local and state governments, the private sector, and our nonprofit and volunteer agencies as the forecast continues to evolve to ensure we can support our 11 million North Carolinians. As we go into the weekend, it is imperative that, again, all North Carolinians are prepared. For preparedness information and checklists, please visit readync.gov. Finally, please check on your friends, your family members, and neighbors, or those in your community who may need additional support this weekend. We're going to see significant winter storm impacts, and we are stronger and more resilient together. Thank you, Governor. I'll now turn it over to Secretary Johnson from DOT.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Director Ray. Safety is our top priority at NCDOT, and it remains our key message today. With the likelihood of icy weather creating treacherous travel conditions in the days ahead, we urge people to please stay put if you don't need to be out on the roads. Staying off the roads during and after the storm allows DOT crews, law enforcement, utility crews, and other emergency responders to do their work. We're expecting a storm that is largely going to be ice-related, which makes traveling on the roads that much more challenging. Even if you have a large truck or SUV, driving on icy roads can be nearly impossible. We'll also have implemented immediate towing measures with the cooperation of the State Highway Patrol to help remove any vehicles that have been disabled, to help both facilitate clearing of the roads and also to eliminate danger for those traveling on those roads. People may notice messages that we placed on digital highway signs across the state. Crews will focus on these efforts on highways and primary routes. We will continue the effort until NCDOT and the Highway Patrol determine that it is safe to lift these measures. We're also continuing to monitor forecasts closely with the help of our partners at the National Weather Service. Forecasts help us make informed decisions and ensure we're placing resources where they're needed most. That's especially important when a storm has statewide impacts like this one. Our crews are in the process of wrapping up pre-storm preparations. As the governor noted, the department has applied about 2.8 million gallons of brine on the roads and state system. Nearly all 2,100 DOT employees who are trained to respond to such storms have contributed to this effort. They're now transitioning their focus and equipment to be ready to clear the roads as the storm moves in. This includes removing trees and limbs that may fall. Salt on hand is at 160,000 tons, and we continue to secure additional salt and distribute it across the state. So we're in good shape from a supply standpoint. We're taking all precautions possible because we aren't going to take a chance with your safety. I encourage everyone to stay informed, make safe decisions about travel, and ensure you have all the supplies you need in case this ends up being a long-term event. People can visit drivenc.gov to view the latest road conditions and other storm-related information. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to the governor for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Director Ray. If any of y'all have questions, feel free to go to the microphones on either side of the room. Yes.
Hi, Caroline Yaffa with WRAL News. So since we're expecting icy roadways, what should essential workers, state employees do to make sure that they're safe and if the roadways are dangerous, and if they feel that it's not safe to travel, what are the impacts that could mean for the community?
Yeah. One area that we have a special concern is whenever you have vulnerable people together, whether that's at a retirement center or at a hospital, and each of those facilities have their own emergency plans. And part of that is having the preparation that folks may have to spend the night at their place of work so that they don't have to travel on the roads back and forth and put themselves at risk or find themselves unable to get back to work where they are desperately needed by the patients or residents of that community. In terms of essential workers for the state, each department, each agency has its own emergency plan and its own way to notify folks of when they should come to work and if they should come to work. Obviously, we don't want anyone traveling who absolutely does not need to, and if they can't get there safely, they should not be on the road.
Hi, this is Laura Hackett with Blue Ridge Public Radio. I'm wondering if the state has been in touch with cell service providers and if damage to cell towers and outages are anticipated.
We have been here at the Emergency Management Center. We have our private sector partners, whether they're the utilities or they're the cell phone companies, the communications networks. And so we're in regular contact with them, and I'll ask Director Ray to answer to your specific question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the question. As the governor said, I think one of the things we continue to reinforce here is what we do is not a public sector function only. And so our commercial telecom partners are here as a part of what we do. They are here in the EOC. We are closely monitoring with them what impacts to their networks they are seeing and how then we need to pivot to adjust resources, whether it's an infrastructure issue, whether it's a technology issue, or some other issue kind of impacting their provision of service. So they are very much a part of what we do. They are here with us and are part of our state emergency response team. And as we move through this event, that's one of the areas that we're going to continue to remain significantly focused on is our network statewide to make sure that folks are able to receive any type of emergency alerts or information, certainly from local emergency services.
Just to follow up real quick, so through the monitoring that has already happened, any indication that cell outages will occur?
Well, we're always concerned. When you have an ice event like this, it can topple towers. It can have trees fall into towers. So there will also be an incredible demand on the system. Folks are going to be at home. They're going to want information. So we expect that people are really going to be maximally utilizing the networks, which will cause their own issues. That's one reason why we encourage folks to get battery-operated radios so that you can stay informed even if you lose communications through modern means.
Michael Perchik, ABC 11. To that point, from a staffing perspective at EOC or local county storm operations centers, what capabilities exist for them to work remotely in the event they're not physically able to get there in person?
Yeah, well, as I said, each agency of government, whether it's state agency or county agency, has their own emergency plan. So they know exactly what to do, who they've identified before the storm hits, who are emergency personnel. They've identified whether that person can perform his or her work remotely or must come into the office. Obviously, we need law enforcement, we need fire, we need EMS to be in their places of work so that when they need to respond, they can. This is one thing, unfortunately, because North Carolina has experienced so many storms of all types, whether they're winter storms like this or hurricanes, the governmental entities, they're well prepared.
As a follow-up, can you speak to the lessons learned from some of those prior storms and how you're able to kind of troubleshoot some of the issues you may have run into in the past to try and avoid them moving forward?
Yeah, I'll have Director Ray speak to the redundancies, but clearly we became too dependent on a single means of communication, which is our cell phone. And so we have worked hard to ensure that we have redundant means of communicating, certainly among emergency personnel, and I will ask Director Ray to come forward and speak more.
Thank you, sir. I think specific to the communications point that the governor was making, and I think to expand on what we talked about yesterday, I think most of the agencies you see up here on the stage, most of the agencies represented in the state EOC or our regional centers and certainly locally have taken lessons learned most recently from Helene or some of the more recent events and invested in some of the redundant satellite-based technologies for redundant communication. We have a variety of redundant communications platforms, whether it's radio caches, mobile towers, mobile data systems that are able to be deployed from a variety of agencies out across the state. Some of the pre-planning, for example, that our 911 community in the state has really been focused on over the last couple of years is a failover system, so that if a local 911 center in a jurisdiction is impacted, there is a failover plan for an unimpacted area to be able to continue to receive 911 calls. And again, that's the great work that community has done in reaction to many of our events. I think broadly, we always want to take a retrospective look at what we do and how we do it and how we can get better. We've done that for every event, low-level ones or major ones like we've experienced in the last couple of years, and it's certainly one that we will continue to do as we all move through this event.
And just to add, I'll ask Colonel Johnson to come forward. He just briefed me on an investment that the Highway Patrol has done and the Viper network to help ensure its continued functionality even when a tower or two gets knocked out. And the radios, you can talk about radios.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Governor. To that question, so the patrol maintains the state communication system across the state. And one of the investments that I was explaining to the governor is that they have the ability to adjust. So if a tower is impacted by a storm, a tower that's in an area that's not impacted can readjust its microwave system and overlap that area. So the stuff continues to work and it can communicate. All our emergency services partners that operate on that system. Then another thing we have, so if you have a local agency has their communication system that's not totally on the Viper State system, we have Director Ray mentioned it, caches of radios. What that is handheld radios that operate on this state communication system. We have about a little over 3,000 of those. We can deploy those things into those communities and hand them to these agencies so they can operate. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions in the room? If not, we'll go to those who are calling in. If you could please identify yourself and where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Claudia Rivera Coto with Enlace Latino NC. Regarding shelters, what assurance are there in place to ensure Latino communities can access them without being questioned about immigration status or required to show state IDs or even having the information shared with ICE?
Yeah. The shelters are operated locally, and we are in contact with our county management agencies, emergency management agencies. 11 counties have so far declared a state of emergency. Others we expect will do so today. Whether or not a local emergency has been declared, many counties are preparing either shelters or warming stations, and they are welcoming all people to come in. Director, anything to add? Thank you. Any other questions?
As a follow-up to that, there are no written policies that explicitly prevent asking this type of information from the residents?
Can't speak to what the county policies are. Director Ray?
I think, as the governor said, I think our focus here at a state level and the focus of the public safety communities at a local level for an event like this is how do we provide necessary support and services to all North Carolinians. And so they are going to implement those warming stations based on their local operations. And again, their focus is how do we get people safe. So I would reinforce what the governor said is that locally they are making preparations to deal with all people in their communities.
We don't want anyone who is in need of shelter at risk of freezing to death to not seek that help.
We're not seeing any additional questions online.
Thank you all for being here.
All right, so that was that press conference from earlier. Let's go to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So today we heard from FBI Director Kash Patel. He was in Charlotte today to discuss the recent arrest of 27-year-old Alejandro Castillo. So Castillo was one of the agency's most wanted fugitives for a 2016 murder that happened here in the Queen City. Let's take you now to that press conference that just happened this afternoon.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kash Patel, the director of the FBI. Today, once again, thanks to President Trump's brilliant leadership and relentless support of law enforcement, we are here today to announce another record-breaking year for the FBI and specifically for the community here in Charlotte. Thank you also to Attorney General Pam Bondi's leadership of the Department of Justice. She has championed victims her entire career, and she never forgets them or her families. And the combination of that is what led us here today. The FBI, just a week ago, captured Mr. Alejandro Castillo in Mexico, one of the top 10 most wanted fugitives on the FBI's most wanted list. He has been on that list for over a decade, evading law enforcement. And to put that in perspective, how much effort goes into this, it is an entire interagency operation from the FBI to the state police, to the local police, to the U.S. attorneys, to the district attorneys, and to the Mexican authorities. That is the only way to bring justice for Sandy Lee, who tragically and brutally lost her life so many years ago at the hands of this brutal monster. I want a special thanks to the Mexican government, President Sheinbaum, Secretary Harfuch, and a special thanks to Ambassador Ron Johnson down in Mexico, representing our interests in Mexico City. A tremendous partner. When I was down there just this week, offering our support and meeting with the individuals and the leaders down there, it truly hit me how much work goes into this kind of operation and what it takes to build a safe and secure America and what it takes to bring justice to the victims and the families across the country. And together, under President Trump's leadership, we have done just that. This year has been a historic year for the FBI. We've had 67,000 arrests this year alone. That's a 200% increase. That's because these guys work with those guys, work with everybody across the country to make it happen. We've had a 20% drop in the murder rate from coast to coast. That is an all-time record for the modern era. We've had 150 million lethal doses of fentanyl swept and taken off our streets, preventing harm to our youth and our children. We've had a 35% increase in espionage arrests, preventing harmful actors from China, Russia, DPRK, and Iran from infiltrating our societies. We've had so many more great successes because of the leadership and the dedication and commitment and the resources given to law enforcement by President Trump and this administration. It is truly, truly a historic moment when you can deliver not one, but two of the FBI's most wanted fugitives in one single day. I don't believe that's ever happened before, and I'm not sure if it'll ever happen again. But the one thing I ask of you guys in your communities is thank these folks here and thank those guys down there, because they do the work day in and day out and they barely get credit for it. And the media blasts them for doing their jobs. But we are here to stand behind blue. We will always be behind law enforcement because you protect our children, you safeguard our communities, and with the power of the United States Attorney's Office, we make sure those criminals are never, 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 ever again attacking the loved ones that we hold most dear to us. It is truly, truly an honor, and I'm so proud to be back here in Charlotte and handing this fugitive over to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department where he belongs, and he will be prosecuted here to the fullest extent of the law. I want to thank HSI, I want to thank DEA, ATF, CBP, I want to thank the local police force, I want to thank the mayor and the governor here for their continued partnership of law enforcement. And once again, I want to thank President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi, who have been truly spectacular supporters of law enforcement. And if you needed to see how it works and how well it works, just look at this case and look at the fact that we brought Alejandro Castillo to justice 10 years later, right back to where he committed this atrocious crime. These top 10 fugitives, the 6 we captured this year, were on the lam for over 40 years collectively. This shows you we will go to the ends of the earth to find you should you choose to hurt our loved ones in our communities. And now I'm going to hand it over to SEC Jim Barnacle for more words on the investigation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Director Patel. I can tell you there's never been a director of the FBI that has dropped off 2 top 10 fugitives on our plane. So thank you, Director. A lot of miles today. I am Jim Barnacle. I'm the special agent in charge here at the FBI in Charlotte and across this great state of North Carolina. It's difficult to put into words the amount of work done over the past 9 years. The FBI and our partners at the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, Chief, thank you for being here, and thank you for the great work that your officers have done. The director just had a chance to meet the detectives and agents and analysts that were involved in this investigation and locating Castillo. And I can tell you they looked all over this country and into Mexico. Hard work, gritty work. The detective that found the victim's body after she was brutally murdered nearly 10 years ago is here today, and he's part of the arrest team this afternoon. This capture was coordinated, and it was an intelligence-driven investigation. We exploited social media. We exploited leads. We developed sources to find, locate, and apprehend. It speaks to the reach of the United States government and the FBI. The FBI operates in over 100 countries across this great planet, and they do so to advance and protect American interests, and the FBI's interest in this case is finding fugitives. It's partner with foreign agencies and the Mexican AGI to effect this arrest, transfer custody, and bring him to the United States. I want to recognize it took a long time to find this guy. It took a long time to get him in cuffs. However, he was arrested on January 16th, and here we are 1 week later, and he's in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, where he's going to face justice under Spencer and his team. Castillo fled to Mexico. As you know, he committed a murder. Sandy Lely was murdered. Her car was driven and found in Phoenix, Arizona. The FBI in Phoenix immediately started tracking. We traced his pattern through family and friends in Phoenix and the Arizona area. We tracked him crossing the border. We traced him down to a town in Mexico, and we started to try to find him. It took a long time, but perseverance doesn't end. The long arm of justice and law enforcement, it has no end. We will put people in cuffs, and we have done that here. Castillo has been living a regular life. Our victim and their family will never be the same. His capture underscores the resolve of the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the CMPD, our law enforcement partners, our dedicated partners and prosecutors around this country and around this globe. So I thank you for being here. I'm grateful for the team and the effort and the partnerships, and I'm glad Castillo is here to face justice in the United States courts. I'll turn it over to the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of North Carolina, Russ Ferguson.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us in the cold today. I'm Russ Ferguson. I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of North Carolina. You know, it's amazing. It's been 10 years since our victim here, Sandy Lee, since her family last saw her. 10 years since her family gave her a hug for the last time, never knowing that was her last hug. And for that decade-long period, Mr. Castillo was living his best life in Mexico. He probably thought he would never get caught. But this case is a testament that this administration is going to do what it takes. We're going to do what it takes to bring to justice murderers, those who flee and think that they can get away with it. My office brought a charge here for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. That federal charge gave the federal government the full force and resources it has to pursue Castillo anywhere in the world. It allowed law enforcement like these guys here to work with their counterparts in Mexico and to capture and bring Mr. Castillo back, and that is what has happened today. And I hope that this case sends a message that we will not let time, we will not let distance, and we will not let borders stand in the way of justice. Director Patel, I want to thank you. I want to thank you on behalf of the people of Charlotte, on behalf of the people of the Western and North Carolina, for never giving up, for never forgetting our victims, and for making a priority to to find people like Mr. Castillo, to catch him, to capture him, and to bring him back to Charlotte to face justice, which he will do. And not only did you do that, Mr. Patel, you did it personally today. And that is really something. And we thank you for that. And I'll turn it over to the Chief of Police, Chief Patterson.
Good afternoon. My name is Estella Patterson, and it's my honor to serve as the Chief of Police for the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. Today really marks a milestone in a case that has weighed so heavily in our community for the nearly 10 years now. And I am elated that a dangerous fugitive is in law enforcement custody. I'd like to express my sincere thank you to all of our partners today who made this possible, beginning with FBI Director Kash Patel, also to FBI Special Agent in Charge Jim Barticle, U.S. Attorney Russ Ferguson, and also Mecklenburg County District Attorney Spencer Merriweather. Their leadership has been incredible. I also want to thank CMPD's Violent Criminal Apprehension Team and FBI Task Force Officer Brent Kowick. Officer Kowick refused to let this case go. He was very determined to work to resolution, and I am so proud at his unwavering dedication and commitment to bring this fugitive to justice. I also want to thank our homicide team at CMPD for the work that they have done. And we formally acknowledge and we accept the transfer of custody of Alejandro Rosales Castillo, a fugitive on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list since 2017. I have said when I became the Chief of Police here in Charlotte that collaboration among law enforcement agencies is important to keeping our communities safe. Also, too, we have seen that. We have seen that here today. This handoff really reflects the exceptional cooperation across local, federal, and international law enforcement who have worked relentlessly for nearly a decade. Without a doubt, our combined efforts show what is possible when agencies come together and work together. This case really underscores one of my core principles, and it echoes what others have said, that we will pursue justice no matter how long it takes or how far it goes. Here at CMPD, we are committed to supporting victims' families, and we hope today will bring some level of comfort to Sandy Lee's family. Charlotte, I want to speak to Charlotte. Charlotte, you can be confident that CMPD and our federal partners will continue to pursue violent criminals with every available resource at our disposal. I personally want to say thank you to every agent, every officer, every analyst, every partner that has helped us with this investigation. Your work is a win for Charlotte, it is a win for our state, and it's an absolute win for our country. Thank you.
We have time for a few questions if anybody wants them. Come on up here. It's all right. The question was the subject surprised after all these years that we were able to find him and chase him down? I think when you see the full power of the United States government and its law enforcement capabilities and partners kicking down doors across the world, maybe he was surprised. He probably thought he got away with it. But this was an FBI enterprise-wide investigation, and I forgot to acknowledge a particular group of people. Our hostage rescue team and our special flight operations unit, which are the warriors behind you in this plane, are the ones that made this lift happen. We left Mexico in dark this morning, dropped off Ryan Wedding in Southern California, and are now here today. Whether or not they're surprised, I guess that's icing on the cake, but the fact of the matter is we got them. Anybody else? Go ahead.
You mentioned the intelligence of the operation and cooperation with Mexican authorities. I was wondering if we could get some more details about how he got in cuffs and then the FBI got there and took him into custody.
So because the prosecution is ongoing, we're not going to speak too much to the details, but SAC Barnacle is absolutely right. To find bad guys around the world, to find the worst of the worst hiding in Mexico, you have to use intelligence. You have to gain intelligence every step of the way at the state level, at the local level, at the federal level. You got to share that intelligence with our partners in Mexico. Then you have to join forces and combine operations and go hit the ground hard and relentlessly. And Charlotte and your local police force and our partners here made sure we never forgot it. And that's the importance of the representation of the interagency-wide process that led us to this perpetrator in Mexico. It truly is a historic achievement when you think about it. 10 years have passed, and we found him. I do not have the ability to comment on that right now. All I'll say is I'll know what he's going to be doing for the next 50 years, and it's going to be sitting in a cell. We'll take one more question. What I can say about Sandy Lee is she was a first-generation college student, graduating, working in her community, and at the time they were at a coworker, Mr. Castillo, and unfortunately that led to her tragic murder off of a small monetary loan that she had made him, and he used that as an evil lure operation to get her out into the private and then to brutally murder her. As for the rest of the evidence, I know the district attorney will make a great presentation of that in court, but that's what's important, that we remember the fact that America is the greatest country on earth, and Sandy Lee was able to live out her dream, and it was taken from her and her family. And today we are going to deliver justice and begin the healing process for Charlotte and her family and the state of North Carolina. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
All right, so that was that press conference from this afternoon. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We are continuing to keep you prepared and just let you know what you need to know heading into this ice storm that is set to roll in Saturday evening. So today we heard from Charlotte and Mecklenburg County officials urging residents today to stay off the roads and prepare for what could be one of the area's most impactful winter storms. We're talking about in years. Dangerous conditions expected to begin again Saturday afternoon, evening-ish. So in case you missed it, let's hear from Charlotte and Mecklenburg County officials.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Battalion Chief John Lipsack with Charlotte Fire. I run the Public Information Division. Charlotte has potential to experience a significant snowstorm and ice event, possibly one of the most impactful winter storms that this area has seen in several years. Because of that, it's critical that residents take steps now to prepare before conditions begin to deteriorate. Over the next several days, you will continue to hear a consistent message from city and county officials. Make sure you have working smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors in your home. And once winter weather begins, stay off the roads. Unfortunately, this message carries weight today. Early this morning, Charlotte Fire experienced a fatal fire in the south end of town, where no working smoke alarms were present. Situations like this underscore how important these simple safety measures are when it comes to this type of event. Today we are joined by several community partners who will share important information on staying safe during this storm and how the City of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County is prepared. Joining us today are Division Chief White Graham, Charlotte Fire and Director of Charlotte Mecklenburg Emergency Management, Karen Pelletier, Director of Community Support, Mecklenburg County, Stephen Bolt, Superintendent of Streets, Charlotte DOT. Chief Graham.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see all the media here. Clearly, you're here because this is a significant storm, or we think it's going to be a significant storm. You know, after Helene, we don't take anything for granted. And so when all the meteorologists that we talk to, and there's quite a few of them, have nothing good to say about the storm, and we are very concerned. And so first and foremost, I just want to remind, I really need everybody to understand that starting tomorrow afternoon, we're going to see deteriorating conditions in the Charlotte region across the state of North Carolina, and we need people to stay off the roads. This is going to be a multi-day event. Monday, the roads we expect to be terrible, but Charlotte will be fine. We'll be fine. We just have to get through the next couple days. What we don't want to have is anybody get killed or seriously injured during the storm. And so that's why we're asking everybody to stay home. The other thing to remember, this is not a snowstorm. This is not a storm where you want to go out and play, have your kids outside. We need people to stay off the roads or anywhere near the roads because we have to have our firefighters, our police officers, our paramedics, our nurses, all the key staff that have to go to and from work, that they're able to travel. Also, for those of you that were here in 2002, that was, up until that time, the busiest day the Charlotte Fire Department has ever experienced. So with very serious winter conditions, we're going to see an increase in fires, we're going to see an increase in rescues, we're going to see an increase in emergency services vehicles, and CMPD is well represented here today. And for this storm, we will be working very closely with CMPD, medic, and everybody else, but we have to allow them to do their work. The Emergency Operations Center will activate tomorrow afternoon, Saturday afternoon, based on the current forecast. But to be honest, we've been very busy all week, and all the emergency management staff, along with all of our partners, have been doing just terrific work. The state of emergency has been signed by several of our chief elected officials, and the rest are working to get those signatures. A state of emergency will go into effect tomorrow at noon, and it will open up the emergency operations plan, which is our plan here in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, on how we bring all of government to bear on our most challenging issues. It will also prohibit price gouging, so I want to make sure that that's out there. Of course, I think the governor also does that. But price gouging is always an issue during storms, and we want to make sure that does not happen. And it will allow us to upstaff our public safety and essential employees. The Mecklenburg County Extreme Cold Weather Plan is also in effect, and warming shelters are open across the county to support residents. Karen Pelletier, our wonderful partner from the county, will be speaking about that next. Charlotte Fire is increasing staffing, as we've already indicated, and we are actively preparing. We are prepared to open shelters along with our partners across the county if needed. Supporting our residents in Mecklenburg County. What we need people to do is make a plan. I think I saw one of our meteorologists earlier talking about this is not a bread and milk type situation. This is actual preparation time. And so we need you to make sure you have everything you need and that you're checking with your family and your neighbors. And so this is always a good time to check with your neighbors. Prepare for icing below freezing temperatures for several days. And so what happens in Charlotte, and we've seen this before, we start having a lot of burst pipes across the city. 311 will be open over the weekend, and so we want to make sure that people have a place to call for non-emergency incidents that they may need assistance from the government with. Build a kit, make sure you have enough food and water, medications, and essentials for your family. Have emergency supplies in your home, including flashlights, batteries, battery-operated radios, medical supplies, non-perishable foods, and a fully charged cell phone. Gather supplies before the winter weather begins. Travel is going to be difficult. Stay tuned to your local news, and usually I tell people I have 2 or 3 ways of getting news. I know we have radio in here, we have television, but we encourage everybody to have an emergency radio. Okay, so the internet's probably going to be down. A lot of the power outages are going to be down. And with that, you're going to have down power lines. Stay away from any loud down power lines. Stay away from all power lines that are down. If it's down, assume that it's alive. We don't want anybody to get anywhere close to a power line. Make sure if you have generators, you know how to operate them, and that they are not inside and at least 20 feet away from any structure. Make sure you have working carbon monoxide detectors and smoke alarms. And make sure that if you're doing any kind of cooking on something that you don't typically cook, you don't want to bring inside. And so we've done this a long time, right? So I remember major ice storms in Charlotte, and I've seen folks bring in charcoal stoves. I've seen folks bring in turkey fryers. I've seen folks use drywall heaters to try to heat their homes. That is not a good idea. Make sure you know what you're doing if you run out of power. And always, we talked about 311, and we definitely want to make sure that people sign up for Charmec alerts, and you get that at charmecalerts.org. And that is all I've got for today. I cannot reiterate enough, we're going to be fine, but we need people to listen, and please stay off the roads. Take care of yourself, your neighbors, and your family. So Karen, next.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Graham. So my name is Karen Pelletier. I am the Division Director of Housing Innovation and Stabilization Services with Mecklenburg County. And I appreciate everyone's curiosity here to learn more about what we are doing to help serve our most vulnerable neighbors in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, and those are our individuals that we have living unsheltered throughout our county. And so Mecklenburg County has a strong history of partnership with the folks here and with our emergency shelter providers and our homeless response team. And so like any other day, we are always working to ensure that our street outreach teams and our emergency shelters have what they need to help people who are living unsheltered and who are interested in shelter to come inside. This is definitely a unique situation where we are engaging more often, more frequently, and really trying to determine how many people we believe and how we look to expand capacity at our shelters, and really working with our street outreach teams to really work to canvass our community and to ensure, again, those who want shelter are able to access an available shelter bed. So I'm really proud of the work of our partners with Roof Above, Salvation Army, My Sister's House, and Hearts for the Invisible, who are key partners on really ensuring that people have safe access to a warm bed throughout this winter event. We will be working with street outreach teams that are going out, like I said, sharing that, and then working to ensure that as people seek shelter at either our men's shelter or our women and family shelter, that they are able to have that shelter space. And that is all I had for today.
Next up, we have Stephen Bolt from Charlotte DOT.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Stephen Bolt. I am the Street Superintendent for the Charlotte Department of Transportation. So as CDOT, just like everyone else, we're anticipating a significant icing event over the weekend that is going to carry into early next week for its impacts. So we have been proactively pre-treating streets yesterday, today, and through tomorrow until the event starts. So we're doing everything we can to prepare for this on the street side. We are also working in coordination with NCDOT, who are our partners responsible for treating interstates and state routes. At that time that the pre-treatment stops, we will transition into treating and fighting the ice potential that we're seeing. So our crews will come on tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they will make that transition in the afternoon to start the process for fighting the ice. We will stay on shift until we have completely removed the ice from our primaries and our collector streets, and then focus on getting into neighborhoods as we can. We ask that the public stays at home and allows us as transportation professionals to do our work, and allow the first responders to do their work as well, safely and effectively. We have treated almost 1,300 miles with brine at this point. We're going to continue treating to tomorrow to make sure we get good coverage. You'll see us out there. You'll see NCDOT out there. When we transition to our B condition tomorrow around 1 o'clock, you should anticipate seeing the salt trucks out. We'll start applying material once the liquid starts coming down and start that fight, starting with our priorities. So we rely on a priority system to guide our event, and so priority ones are major thoroughfares, moving down to minor thoroughfares, major collectors, minor collectors such as neighborhood collectors, and then in the neighborhoods. It is a lot of mileage, so we treat about 2,200 lane miles for this event, and it's probably going to take multiple cycles to fight this because it is low temperatures. But we've got our toolbox in place and we're ready to respond. Our crews are also creating extra signal assemblies so that we can be prepared if this ice comes, because it's one of our biggest concerns is that not only that our infrastructure and the ice will combat each other and potentially fail from the weight, but also all the trees that we're dealing with in Tree City are going to potentially create issues and take out our signal infrastructure. I can't stress enough, please stay home if you can, but if you have to go out, if you encounter a dark signal, understand that is a always stop condition. Please take your time, be safe. You also please call 911 for any down lines. Don't try to cross them, don't try to go under them, don't approach them. You should anticipate that it is an extreme danger and stay back and call the proper authorities. They will respond. We will respond. We can't come out until that power has been safely removed, and so once that's done, we'll come restore our signals. We've got crews on call for that, so we are ready and willing to jump into action. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you to our community partners for being here and sharing this important information. Charlotte is prepared, but preparation doesn't stop with the city. The time is now to act before the storm arrives. Taking steps today can make a real difference in keeping yourself, your family, and your neighbors safe. Please take a moment to check your smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms and make sure they are working. These devices save lives. And we'll now open the floor for any questions of any member up here. Go ahead.
This is from Flight Radar Station at WCNC Charlotte, another reporter, but we did want to ask, for anybody that was here during the 2022 ice storm, the city records show that that was the most devastating weather event of the last 25 years when it came to property damage costs. What's the extent of that property damage? What was the biggest concerns when it comes to the storm that we're looking at this weekend?
Yeah. It was 2002.
It's all right.
No, you're good. Because my son was like an infant, and I left my wife at home. She wasn't very happy at all at that time. And I came to work at like 2 in the morning, and I was listening to John Hancock going down Providence Road, and he was there at the radio station. And at that time, we held an entire shift over, and it was so busy that we couldn't keep track of all the calls. And I remember walking on Fire Station 3 at, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning, and all the firefighters were laid out on the floor because they'd been up all night. So there's no one way to like figure out like how much damage. You know, that is a very, I'm always very leery when someone says this is all the damage. Like, who counts that? I don't know. Where does that number come from? Well, we will say, and so for anybody, insurance is always your first line of defense. Okay, make sure you have insurance. But then we're worried right now about lives. And so we want to make sure that no one loses their life in Mecklenburg County because of this storm. We want to make sure that parents know where their kids are. We want to make sure that people are selling the message, stay off the roads. Be prepared now and stay off the roads. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's kind of difficult. Brett's got a question, of course. That's what he does.
I'm just curious, in terms of like, what specifically will you guys be doing? What calls will the fire department be responsible for?
All the calls that we normally are responsible for, so, right? So fire, rescue, we run EMS calls with medic, make sure we take care of anytime, fire department never says no. We go on everything, but we're going to see those will be increased. So we expect on a normal day, we might run 200 to 400 calls. I would say during this storm, that would be magnified times 3 or 4. And so they're going to be very busy, the firefighters are.
What do you anticipate most of the calls being?
Down power lines, power goes out. When it goes out, it's a problem because you have electrical issues. When it comes back on, you can also have electrical issues. People falling, people having accidents that didn't heed the warning to stay off the roads. Because there's nothing out there that fixes driving on ice, right? It's not a good idea. We've all been there. Man, I shouldn't have come out. We're driving on ice. There's nothing out there that will solve that problem for you. But we will be responding. So that's the other thing. Emergency services is going to come. We're going to do everything we can to get to everybody. But we're going to have our own challenges, right? So all of our police cars, our ambulances, our fire trucks, we are mission first. We're coming as soon as we can get there. We're not going to stop. We're going to go to that emergency call. Just keep that in mind. So, but we're also putting our own folks at risk. This is a risky job. If you work in emergency services, this is not a Walt Disney World. You didn't sign up for that. So, but yeah, we're coming.
Taking it back to 2002, what lessons did you all learn from that event, and what improvements have been made since then?
So, I don't want to. I was a rookie firefighter. I was having a blast. We went to all kinds of stuff. But in all honesty, Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, we have a culture of preparedness here. We have a culture of emergency management. And when I say that, we had a call this morning with 90 people on there from the city, the county, the towns. All the city and town managers are tied in with emergency management. All the fire chiefs are tied together. All the police chiefs are tied together. The public works folks are tied together. Emergency management, our job is to connect all those resources. And so we're always working to make that better as we go forward. Are there challenges? Yes. And just to be clear, and I always tell everybody this, if you're in emergency management, you're probably always wrong. And what I mean by that is either the storm was way worse than we said it was going to be, or it wasn't bad enough. So the next time, they'll say, oh, well, it's never as bad as they say. I'm past that. We prepare for the worst. And so our plan is always to be prepared for the extreme.
This is a question for Karen. Do you anticipate needing to open up larger facility spaces for our unhoused neighbors? I know the point in time count is at the forefront of a lot of people's minds this week. Just, what is your plan to maybe open up that extra space, especially if it's going to be through a couple days?
So I am really proud of the work that our homeless response system does to address the capacity, and they are looking to add over 100 beds across our shelter system to help address more people that may be wanting and needing to come inside during this winter storm. So that'll be across Roof Above, Salvation Army, and My Sister's House. Will all be expanding their capacity.
And how do you really get through to people who you encounter on the streets if this is a life or death storm? I know you mentioned some people might not want to seek housing, but this doesn't seem like an option maybe.
I will say that we have a remarkable street outreach process. Hearts for the Invisible has been, we started informing people, letting people know through the point in time count even yesterday that a winter storm was coming, to be prepared, be on the lookout for more information about where to go and when it will start. And so we are working with our street outreach team that's out there right now, letting people know where to go. And we're starting to anticipate more people starting to come in tonight to be able to be safe when it starts getting really bad tomorrow afternoon.
Karen, what exactly will the street outreach team be doing over the next 2 days?
Great question. And so what they do is canvass from the north to the south to the east to the west of this county. And so they're out there letting people know where to go for shelter, letting them know which bus may be running to go, offering to help transport people to shelter as well. They do a great job in ensuring that. Or if people are feeling comfortable and wanting to stay for a whole variety of reasons in where they're maybe living unsheltered, ensuring that they have additional blankets and supplies.
With the CMPD officer, I'm just curious, could you, sort of the same lines that I asked Deputy Chief Graham, can you just talk about what kind of calls you guys will be going to as opposed to, say, the fire department?
Yeah, we respond to all calls. There's no change in what we respond to for emergencies like this, but as you heard, heed the warnings, right? You've heard the warnings over and over again. Don't become a victim yourself, and don't create a victim by having emergency response have to come to you because you made a choice to go do something that wasn't a necessity. So CMPD is fully operational. There's no change in procedures as of now, and we'll continue to, be out there, and we do ask you to call 311 or report a crime online for something that you wouldn't have to see an officer to reduce traffic on the road, but continue to heed the warning that you've heard from all the partners up here today, and please call 911 if you see a dangerous situation so that we can try to deter people from that and keep people safe.
We know that the wrecks tend to be a lot more than things like this. Are you guys bringing on more staff to try and handle the volume of wrecks?
Yeah, we've increased staffing through our communications and patrol, and then we're going to have partners in the emergency center here with the team all weekend. So that'll be a priority for us. And again, try to stay off the road. Try to pre-plan today, tomorrow, so that you don't have to get in your car or touch your car throughout the entire incident. Thank you.
All right, so that is that press conference from earlier. Again, officials from Charlotte, Mecklenburg County urging folks, please stay off the road. I'll tell you that myself. Please stay off the road during this ice storm. If you don't have to be out, if you don't have to get to work, just stay at home and make sure you are ready. Make sure your home is winterized. Make sure your car is okay. Because when this stuff eventually melts, we want to make sure your battery's okay, et cetera, tires, that sort of thing. So, all right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Serderman. We continue to follow what's happening there in Minneapolis, St. Paul area with the unrest, with the ICE crackdowns, federal agents there. So today we heard from Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bavino on the immigration operations there in Minneapolis. Let's take you now to that press conference in case you missed it.
Good morning. I hope everyone's doing well this morning. I'm Greg Bavino, Customs and Border Protection Commander at Large for Minneapolis. I'll begin today's briefing, go through a few things, and then turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Marcos Charles. And at that time, after Mr. Charles is done, we'll take any questions that you may have. So operations continue unabated here in Minneapolis. Several illegal alien criminals taken off the streets yet again over the past 24 hours. Again, that is what we're here to do, and we're not going to be deterred in doing that. We are going to take these illegal aliens off the street and make America a safer place, make Minneapolis a safer place. Again, that is why we're here. Let me detail a couple of illegal aliens we took off the streets over the past 24 hours that were walking our streets over those past 24 hours. Here's one, Mr. Carlos Gomez Acosta, charged with cocaine trafficking and a controlled substance violation. This is an interesting one because this individual was what we would term as a golf, which is a gotaway across the border. This individual crossed the border and was a gotaway. More than likely, over those past 4 years when we had millions crossing the border unabated. This is what we get in our communities. What happens at the border does not stay at the border. And then we have Lin Lee, an illegal alien from Red China. This individual is charged with child neglect and endangerment. Let me say that again, child neglect and endangerment and prostitution. An illegal alien walking the streets of Minneapolis. Now, we just talked children yesterday a little bit. Let's talk a little more since we've got an illegal alien we just took off the streets of Minneapolis that was someone engaged in child neglect and endangerment. Here in the U.S. Border Patrol, I will say unequivocally that we are experts in dealing with children. Let me say that again, experts in dealing with children. Not because we want to be, but because we have to be. Over those past 4 years, hundreds of thousands of children were trafficked across that border. Guess who they came into contact with? Sometimes who was the very first law enforcement agency or American citizen that they saw? U.S. Border Patrol, followed by our counterparts at Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We're definitely the experts at dealing with children, unfortunately. Hundreds of thousands under that last administration. Not to mention the 300,000 lost children. 300,000 plus lost children that were trafficked across that border. Now, when we've got the news media talking about children, I'd certainly love to hear more reporting on the 300,000 lost children. How about the 14 that we recovered at that pot farm a few months ago in Camarillo, California? The 14 lost children trafficked across the border that were found working illegally on a pot farm in California. Very little reporting from the Minneapolis news media here. I didn't really hear much from you guys. And then some of the more heinous crimes against children that are trafficked across the border that ICE and Border Patrol saw daily back when that border was out of control over those past 4 years. I'll detail one for you, folks, that's truly heinous. Border Patrol agents there in the El Centro sector encountered a young child who was approximately 3 years of age. The child appeared to be drugged, not with his parents, with strangers. Agents managed to wake the child up after doing what is known as a sternum rub, which is a technique to wake someone up that may be induced by drugs. As the child woke up, we understood the child's parents were not with him, and medical examination saw that this child had non-surgical sutures in his abdomen. Let me say that again. Non-surgical sutures in the child's abdomen. He was being trafficked across the border in that condition. That's not an isolated event with the U.S. Border Patrol or ICE. We saw that many, many times. Drug children coming across the border, and guess what? Other than a couple of news outlets, I believe News Nation and Fox reported, nobody else would. Nothing on a child with non-surgical sutures in his abdomen, and nobody knows why. Now, the 5-year-old yesterday, some of you had questions on the 5-year-old yesterday. That 5-year-old remains with his family. We say that again, remains with his family. We know that. That false media narrative that was pushed out yesterday was, well, it was false. It remains with his family. But let's talk about who doesn't remain with their family. And I think this is the most important thing that we're talking about with children. How about our victim of the day? A victim at the hands of illegal alien criminals, these same criminals that we are taking off the streets that you see on these screens behind us. This victim was Rachel Morin. She left behind 5 children. Let me say that again. She left behind 5 children after she was killed by an illegal alien from Central America. He decided to murder her and hide her body in a culvert. Oh, wait a second, that was after he raped her. She's separated permanently from her 5 children. Let me say that again, separated permanently from her 5 children. Why isn't that reported on? Very little reporting in the local news media or the news media on those types of situations. Now, I would call this the DSP syndrome. That's a term that I made up. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a Border Patrol agent. It's called the double standard phenomena. Say that again. The DSP is the double standard phenomena. We see this quite often, the DSP. American citizens that are arrested daily here in Minneapolis. Are they separated from their children and families? Absolutely, as they should be. Criminals face consequences. Criminals face consequences. But yet that double standard does not seem to apply to illegal aliens. Why is that? Perhaps someone could detail that for me, because I don't quite understand all the parameters involved in the DSP, the double standard phenomena. So, as we continue this mission here in Minneapolis, we will continue to take these bad people, bad things off the streets, despite the DSP, the double standard phenomena, despite the false narrative reporting by many news media outlets. We will continue unabated in our mission to ensure there are no more Rachel Morins separated from her 5 children. And I'll close by saying organizations, victims organizations, victims' rights organizations. What about the angel moms? That one's one that's never reported on. How many victims do you need before an organization like that pops up? It's not 1 or 2, I can guarantee you that. Look at MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, from back in the 80s and 90s. That organization popped up because a lot of children were getting killed by drunk drivers. Well, what about the angel moms now? How many victims of illegal aliens that should not be here in the United States are causing family separation for American citizens that's not reported on by most news media outlets? How many does it take? I'd like to ask, excuse me, PBS or CNN or any of the other outlets, how many? How many does it take? I'd love that question. There's another phenomenon there. I would love that question answered. But the fact of the matter is we do have angel moms. A lot of them, unfortunately. It's very heartbreaking to meet them, although they're not reported on very much. Heartbreaking. But we're here to ensure there are no more angel moms. We don't want more angel moms, and that's why Marcos and I are here, U.S. Border Patrol, ICE, and those allied law enforcement teams. We're going to take, again, these criminal aliens off the streets that you see behind us and that I've shown you this morning. We're going to take them off the streets wholesale. It's on. We won't quit. Thank you for your time this morning. I'll introduce Mr. Marcos Charles. Marcos?
Good morning. Thanks, Commander Bovino. Thank you all for being here to get the real facts of what ICE federal partners are doing in the Twin Cities. For us, every day is about public safety, not politics. It's a shame to see politicians and activists spreading fear in their own communities by creating a false narrative about what we do and who we are and who we arrest. The media and political activists have tried to deceive the American public about ICE and our operations. Yet again, they have failed, but the truth matters, and I'm here to tell you the truth about what we do. This week, ICRO conducted targeted enforcement operation to arrest Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, an illegal alien who was released back into the interior of the United States by the previous administration. When officers approached Conejo Arias, he and his child were in a vehicle. Arias fled from law enforcement on foot, abandoning his child in the middle of winter in a vehicle. One of our officers stayed behind with that child while other officers apprehended his father. After conducting the arrest, my officers stayed with the child. They cared for him, took him to get something to eat from a drive-through restaurant, and spent hours ensuring he was taken care of. Again, my officers did that, not his father. My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door. Let me say it again. They saw the young boy and they refused to open the door and take him back. This is the human side of the job that my officers do. They are family men and women. They have children of their own. They sacrifice everything for their families. I know for a fact that they were heartbroken to see the child's own family leave him behind. Fortunately, Conejo Arias eventually requested that his child stay with him. We do everything in our power not to separate families. So they took him back together to Minneapolis, here to the city, to the ICE facility for processing, and now they are being well cared for at a family residential center, pending their immigration proceedings. This is the real face of ICE, ERO, Border Patrol, and our allied partners. The media doesn't know our officers, we do. My officers do the right thing no matter how difficult or how long it takes throughout the day. Let me debunk a couple more lies. Conejo Arias was not walking to school with his child, and we did not target the child. Arias fled from law enforcement officers and left his child behind. Again, middle of winter, in a car. We will enforce the law as it's written, but we will go above and beyond to reunite families because that is who we are. I also want to clarify the recent arrests of the ringleaders of the city's church riots. Federal law protects the freedom of religion and the right to worship without interference. What these agitators did was not a peaceful protest. They rioted at church services. They screamed and harassed children. They denied Minnesotans the ability to worship peacefully. Again, this was not a peaceful protest. You don't go in front of up to a child and yell at them. That is not a peaceful protest. I've been in law enforcement for 33 years now, and this is the first time I've ever seen a protest in a church where they're harassing individuals trying to peacefully worship. It's disturbing to know that these individuals would target sacred spaces and viciously harass innocent families. Sacred spaces must be respected. While I cannot speak to ongoing investigations and prosecutions, I can say that ICE, DHS, and the Department of Justice are wholly committed to maintaining public safety and the rule of law. That is why we are here today. I am calling on everyone, politicians, the media, and activists, to put an end to the dangerous, irresponsible rhetoric once and for all. You are pitting communities against federal law enforcement, and you are pitting neighbor against neighbor in Minnesota. This is why I'm up here almost every day, to show you the good work my officers are doing. This is the same reason that Chief Bovino is up here every day. The public needs to know about the dangerous criminal illegal aliens we're arresting. They need to see the faces of the monsters that these agitators are trying to protect. Yesterday, we arrested the following individuals. Jose Ocampo Leon, a criminal illegal alien from Mexico, convicted of sexual conduct with...
All right, so that was that press conference earlier on immigration operations here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. All right, thank you for tuning in, listening, watching here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Make sure you stick with us here on WCNC Plus and WCNC Charlotte. We'll have more updates, especially as this ice storm moves in on tomorrow. Thank you. We'll see you at 11 o'clock.